Welcome back, everybody! Nick June has come again, and there were some problems last year, I'll admit, but we're going full force this time around. 3 weeks of nothing but Nicktoon games, and no force on the Disney Channel or Cartoon Network is gonna stop me. And since we kicked it off with SpongeBob last year, how about we go for another hit? Fairly Odd Parents is the creation of famed uncontroversial cartoonist Butch Hartman, but was far from his first shot at making a cartoon. After getting that sweet Gene Rayburn rub from being on Match Game Hollywood Squares, Butch Hartman would start his career as an artist as an
Barbara, this video stinks. I don't like it at all. What is the remote? I'm changing the channel.
Okay, so you knew going into a bug tier list that the Hercules beetle was gonna be S tier. I mean, you look at it and think, how is he so much better than me? I mean, they got it all. That big horn, they're fun to raise, they don't actively carry diseases, mosquitoes, so I say Hercules is a pretty safe S tier pick.
No.
So for this step, you're gonna wanna try to grate the mozzarella by hand. I find that hand grated is so much better than bagged because they put this potato starch to keep the pieces apart and it keeps it from tasting right.
No.
Yep, I finally given up. We're doing the Knockout League video.
Oh, hell no.
There once was a man named Gold Roger who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
My fortune is yours for the taking, but you'll have to find it first. I left everything I own in one piece.
Ever since, pirates from all over the world have set sail for the Grand Line, searching for One Piece, the treasure that will make their dreams come true. Oh, would you look at that? It looks like he's done it again, and it's true, I have done it again. How does he do it? Please refrain from asking how I do it. Nick June? More like Nick Dune, cause it's barren and lifeless. Welcome to Junami! The whole of the month of June is all about anime. Now, should I have done this a month earlier and called it anime? Stupid, stupid, stupid! Now, I know I've said in the past that I'm not really an anime guy, but have you ever considered that I lie to you all the time? You think I haven't seen Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken? You think I haven't seen School Rumble? You think I haven't seen Sergeant Frog? Well, I have! Or maybe I haven't! I'll never tell! Either way, I'm throwing myself in the deep end to look at some anime I may have a passing familiarity with. And I couldn't think of a more beginner-friendly anime to start with than One Piece. Oh, so when The Simpsons goes on for 750 episodes, it stinks, but when One Piece does it, it's a masterpiece, okay. One Piece was created by author Ichiro Oda, starting all the way back in 1997 and running up to this very day. One Piece has been around longer than I have, and has a pretty good chance of outliving me too. The story of Monkey D. Luffy traveling the globe to become the Pirate King has ballooned from a simple Dragon Ball inspired story into a multi-million-dollar franchise. This is a franchise so big that the creator was able to marry one of the characters from it. Really, Oda is married to a cosplayer who used to dress up as Nami. This is the best-selling manga ever made, beating the second highest manga by 2 million issues. No, guess what the second highest selling manga of all time is. For those of you that said Golga 13, well, don't we like to shop at the same Wikipedia pages? One Piece has stage shows, 15 theatrical films, over 1,000 chapters and episodes, and is a cultural landmark in Japan. In America?
Honey, get the broom, it's back again!
One Piece may be the biggest anime of all time that completely failed the Western transition. Oh, it's got fans, and if you ask them, they will very loudly tell you that it's as popular as Dragon Ball, with a tear in their eye, but it made the leap to America and fell over the first hurdle. Looking at how big series like Dragon Ball and Naruto became in the States, you have to wonder, what made One Piece fail? You'd see kids on the playground doing Kamehamehas and Rasengans, but they'd never do a Gum Gum Elephant Gun! Well, if you're an anime fan of a certain age, you know exactly which direction to start wildly firing in. That would be 4Kids. It sure is. 4Kids Entertainment is the early 2000s anime boogeyman. Fans of just about any anime know that 4Kids had a terrible reputation, being the people behind dubbing animes such as Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but America and Japan are a little different. One has Danganronpa, the other has Lowe's. We're clearly not prepared. 4Kids as a dubbing company was given the task of changing shows for more American sensibilities, otherwise known as localization. This included removing things like explicit sexual and violent imagery, getting rid of alcohol and smoking, and finding clever workarounds to the concept of death. Dying? No. Realm of Eternal Torment? Yes. This made them really unpopular with hardcore anime fans, but they weren't really dubbing hardcore animes. That was until they got One Piece, and the 4Kids One Piece dub is maybe the most hated anime dub of all time. It took the original story and removed all the violence, gave characters silly voices, changed names, undid character deaths, pissed in the shower, left the fridge open. It's rough. People consider this to be the reason that One Piece flopped in the West. Casual fans who remember it would remember the terrible dub, and as such they didn't want to check it out, and okay, yeah, it ain't a patch on the original, but I feel like people can be really unfair when talking about this dub. A dub that 4Kids didn't want to make. The company struck gold with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And wanted to expand their reach a little bit by getting some anime for girls. Sure, they had Winx Club, but that's not anime, get it away from me. 4Kids was ready to purchase the rights to Ojamaja Doremi from Toei Animation when Toei changed the deal and said they would only get Doremi if they also dubbed One Piece. Well, we don't really know what piece you're talking about, but sure, just give us the magical girls. 4Kids never wanted to dub One Piece, and they wanted to even less when they found out what it was. One Piece was way more violent and visceral than anything they had dubbed before. At least Yu-Gi-Oh! Only whipped out the buzzsaws on special occasions. One Piece had characters getting shot, stabbed, and bleeding buckets. 4Kids was stuck in a contract saying they needed to release at least 78 episodes, and once that was done, they just waited out the contract with Toei so they didn't have to make any more. But the damage was already done. 4Kids' rocky reputation gave way, and now their name was mud, and this failure was no small part of the company shutting down and having to restructure into 4K media. For what it's worth, what were they supposed to do? One Piece isn't even close to a show for kids, and it was being dubbed by a company who dubbed shows for kids! Clues in the name, I got my best sleuths working on it. What exactly were they supposed to do? Zoro explodes into a blood cross after getting cut in half by goddamn Dracula. Don Krieg fills Luffy with holes from a machine gun. Arlong gets a gun shoved in his mouth. This was the lead into Sonic X. If anybody should get the blame, it's Toei for forcing the One Piece dub onto the wrong people. 4Kids had a lot of talented people working at it, both on the acting and technical side, writing, but no amount of talent is ever going to make a children's version of One Piece possible. The failures of the dub doesn't mean that 4Kids didn't try to wring as much as they could out of the show, since they brought over a few One Piece video games, namely Grand Battle and Grand Adventure. Now, I owned both of these when I was younger, despite having never seen an episode of One Piece. Yeah, like, he's gotta get the 8 pirate badges to win the Pirate League or something. I'm too busy watching SpongeBob. Longtime stalkers of mine would know that I wasn't allowed to watch Dragon Ball until Kai came around in 2010, but I was allowed to get Grand Battle all the way back in 2005. The way I managed it was, and I swear I'm not lying, is because me and my brother said, no, Mom, they're not people, they're pirates. And that worked. This game was actually the 4th Grand Battle game released, but the only one to make it to America. In Japan, the roster was much larger thanks to that, including characters from arcs that 4Kids never got to. So I never watched One Piece, but I owned the game, and that makes it all the funnier that I also bought the game's sequel. I just had to know how the story ended. One Piece Grand Adventure is an interesting beast. What should be the 5th Grand Battle game is actually its own series entirely, made exclusively for non-Japanese regions. This game was never released in Japan, and was instead made as an apology for how much content had to be cut from Grand Battle. I had to buy this game off eBay since my local Cumberland Farms refused to stock it, and this was well before I figured out what a game was before I actually bought it. Sanji just left such a good impression on me I had to figure out more. And now it's finally time to see if I made a worthwhile investment. For those sad I'm not covering the baseball game, don't worry, I'm disappointed enough in myself for all of us. So the game starts with, and you're not gonna believe this, a different One Piece rap. They're multiplying! As for game modes though, Grand Battle has all the modes from the last game, like mini-games, tournaments, and straight-up fighting, but the menu for that mode, and sit down for this one, has a third One Piece wrap. What separates this game from the pack is Grand Adventure mode. Instead of an arcade mode for each character, this game has a mode where you play through the massively abridged story of One Piece and level up characters as you do so. It's a fighting game RPG spanning the first 200 chapters of One Piece. That's not even a fifth of the whole thing. When you start up the mode for the first time, all you're gonna have is a level 1 Luffy, and you have to travel the map to look for more crewmates. Pretty soon you run into Nami the Navigator and have to beat her in a fight to get her on the crew. Here we get to see the game in action, and if I had to compare it to anything, it plays a lot like Power Stone. It's a 3D arena fighter with simple movesets and a lot of items in play that you can either swing at your opponent or use to buff yourself in battle. You have a basic 3-hit combo, a launcher, air combo, block, dash, and a few special moves. You can string together your basic hits and launchers to get new combos or charge up moves to break enemy guards. The combat is incredibly simple. You aren't really going to be able to string moves together like a traditional fighting game. You hit either of the 2 attack buttons and hope for the best. That said, it works really well and lets you pull off a lot of flashy attacks without a lot of effort. Attacks are quick, characters feel distinct despite using all the same inputs for attacks. They did a great job condensing what can be a technically confusing game into just a few buttons. The game also has a heavy emphasis on items, with you having access to a variety of them, from torches to burn your opponent with, baseball bats to knock them away, mushrooms to poison them, and this little prick who will always shoot you even if you're the one that threw him. I hate so much that he's happily married. There are also the other items, the sword, shield, boots, snail, and meat. The first 3 are simple boosts and debuffs to your stats. Sword raises attack but lowers defense, shield raises defense but lowers speed, and the boots raise speed but lower attack. The meat is a health boost, and the snail automatically calls out your assist. Yeah, it won't really matter for us for a while, but as you progress you can also unlock assist characters to help you out in battle. They also make up the game's Rumble Battle minigames, and we'll get back to those. Back to the fight though, and I mop the floor with Nami, even getting enough experience to level up. Get enough experience points and you can level up your character to improve their stats. You can give them more health, increase their attack, defense, super attack, how much damage your assist character does, or how much damage you do with items. The best defense is a good offense, and if my offense is good enough, I don't need a defense. Nami agrees to join the crew since her town is being held for ransom, and she needs 100 million berries to pay it off. As the crew expands, you can pick and choose which characters you want to play as, so if you find Luffy's hat repulsive, you can ride with Nami for the rest of the game. And like I said, she controls just different enough to be worth playing. She's a lot more glass cannon with low starting health and defense, but has a lot of moves that keep enemies away. She's also getting banned from competitive play of this game, isn't that neat? Our travels bring us to the pirate hunter Zoro, who asks us to get his sword back for him. Well, I don't see any problem assisting Pirate Hunter Zoro. After a quick rumble battle against some Navy grunts, we get the sword back, and as a reward, he offers to kill us. You have no idea how long I've been waiting to get murdered. Zoro has the sword buff for the entire fight, which means not only is he dealing a lot of damage, but he takes it too. I mean, I never saw the first part because Nami is kind of busted. Her stats are pathetic, with the highest one being her support, which she can't even use yet, but those keep-away tools are really good at keeping people away. Zoro agrees to join our crew, and now it takes everything in me to not immediately switch to him. He's got 3 swords, he's got a bandana, he's got green hair like my favorite character, the Joker. But he kind of shows off a problem with adventure mode. There's no sharing experience between the crewmates, so the only one that gets to level up is the one that fights. That means if you want a crew of equally leveled fighters, you're gonna have to start grinding out each and every one. Sure, some of the challenges ask you to use specific crewmates, but those are just for bonuses. It's totally possible to just pick one crewmate and use them for the whole campaign. Speaking of those challenges, a lot of fights in this mode have conditions you can fulfill for bonuses, like items to view in an extras menu, or even a free stat boost. One of those conditions is on display in our next fight against Buggy the Clown. He's after the same treasure we are and decided, well, if nobody else is gonna be the pirate clown. To get the bonus from his fight, you have to finish him off with an item, and you're gonna need to since normal attacks barely do any damage. It's tough for sure, but if you really want to, you can just cave his head in with a baseball bat every time he tries to stand up, like a pirate! The reward for going through it is a pair of cool sunglasses. Don't act like this wasn't worth it. The coolness of our shades is brought into question, though, as we meet Johnny and Yusaku, bounty hunters who want to turn us in. It's a rumble battle against both at once, and once you win, you finally unlock an assist character. You can sacrifice some special meter to call out a character to help you in battle. Most fall into a subclass, though there are a few unique ones, like rideable animals and a chef that heals you. The next major fight is with Tashigi, a sergeant of the Marines who's trying to hunt down pirates. She's one of the first major roadblocks, as her attack stat is really high for the early game. It only takes one combo before she shreds your health, so it's better to stay defensive and rely more on assists. We get a compass from her that lets us safely travel to the next area, where you can have a fight with a lunch monitor or something, but I ignored him. Instead, I go to a massive floating restaurant. Sanji's a chef with the most admirable trait a person can have. He can't keep it in his pants. We smack him around a bit before we get two choices, either go to a rumble battle or take on Hawkeye Mihawk. He's the world's greatest swordsman, and is a full 16 levels above my best character. On top of that, there's a special challenge to beat him using Zoro, who I haven't even used yet. Luckily, you don't need to beat Mihawk, you just need to survive Mihawk. Easier said than done, though, when he does this to you. Sorry, I was thinking about something else. What happened? If you manage to survive, you hear Zoro pop off louder than anybody else ever has after scampering around like a coward. I won! This was the turning point for my playthrough. The prize for winning is a special costume for Zoro, and I wasn't gonna not use the costume I had to valiantly run away for. After escaping Mihawk, we meet up with a kindly butler who looks after some very valuable property, and we have to fight that crossing guard again? Not before fighting through his team of elite children. Guys, the game made me do this. I would never do something like this. Never, ever, ever. This monster needs to be put down, and luckily we get the chance next. Usopp is a tricky character to fight whenever you have to fight him, since he sucks up close but is amazing at long range. It's a struggle getting to him, but once you do, it's easy. I even let one of his child soldiers deal the final blow for revenge. This guy is clearly too dangerous to be left alone, so we're taking him along with us until we can hand him over to the proper authorities. On our way back, it turns out that nice butler was the cunning and inexplicably cat-themed pirate Kuro. The clues were there from the beginning. After we take down his subordinates, it's on to the cat daddy himself, and it's far from easy. He's a whole 2 levels higher than we are, and he's a high speed and damage character. Unfortunately for him, though, I've just leveled up enough to get my first super move. Now Zoro has the Tri-Beast Requiem to finish off Kuro and send us on our way. Now that the cat's back in the bag, we can move on to a surprisingly low-rank fight. Luffy and the gang find an injured man stuck on a wrecked ship in the middle of nowhere in a rainstorm begging for food, but I feel the urge again and beat him within an inch of his life. He floats away on a piece of driftwood, but in like a really mocking fashion, so I hunt him down to the floating restaurant we were at earlier. He's trying to eat in peace, but I know better. He's up to no good, so we go back to finish off what we started. The restaurant stage is surrounded on all sides by water, which makes it really easy to fall off, but it's just as easy to toss your opponent in the drink too. Turns out we've been doling out street justice without even realizing it, since this is Don Krieg, a pirate captain who has a fleet of 50 ships. He challenges us to one final fight, but only after poisoning us, so we have to fight the whole time while losing health. I'm not sweating it though, I've kicked his butt so bad you could probably get my boot size off of it. Sanji sees how we handled him and accepts Luffy's offer to become the cook for the crew as we set off for a previous island to fight Buggy again. No reason, I think he just deserves a beating. He came prepared with an extra henchman to try to stop us, and while it slows us down, we keep getting stronger and take him out with no sweat. We smacked him around so bad that a compass fell out, and we move on to Logue Town, where, for no reason, Nami just ditches the party. Oh, that's why she listed abandonment as a hobby. Well, we gotta do something now, and what better way to spend a Saturday than by beating a fishman to death? This is Sawtooth Arlong, and honestly, if you don't get this just from the design, you're a fake fan, is obviously a former crewmate of the Sun Pirates, led by the greatest fishman who ever lived, Fisher Tiger, a legendary fishman who once led a one-man siege on the town of Marie-Joie, the same town where he was kept as a slave in order to free the remaining slaves from the Celestial Dragons, who was betrayed by the family of a slave he was returning home and ambushed by the Navy, causing him to die from treatable wounds rather than receive a blood transfusion of human blood. Then Arlong would go on to try to get revenge on the people of the island before being stopped by Borsalino, who is not Adam Sandler. Then he would be sent to Impel Down before being bailed out by Jimbei, who he would then try to fight for control of the Sun Pirates. Then he would get beaten up and take a couple of his friends to go take over, like, a city block. Was the tattoo not enough to tell you that? Oh yeah, I beat him too. He's the one holding Nami's home village hostage and has her working as his servant to make maps for him. He's responsible for all the bad things that have happened in Nami's life, and it's up to me to be responsible for the rest of the bad things that happen in Nami's life. The mission for this fight, though, is to win without knocking her out. Beat her to near unconsciousness, got it. I run away long enough for her to realize what a hero I am and go to hunt down Arlong and take him down. He's the first major roadblock for the run since his attack stat is crazy, and his stage plays to his advantage. See, this game actually has a pretty neat system with water. Normal characters like Zoro take some damage, Devil Fruit users like Luffy take a lot of damage, and fishmen like Arlong take no damage. That means that the extra fall damage condition can clear your health in no time. Once you do overcome it though, Nami rejoins the crew and now we leave for the next location. I have just the man for the job. Loser has to be named Zolo. Welcome back to the crew, Nami! Clean the hull. If you've got some pent-up anger with boxes, now is the time to get it out. We make it to Logue Town, the same town that the Pirate King Gold D. Roger was born and executed in, when Buggy shows back up looking to pick a fight. He doesn't last very long, but a much more dangerous threat shows up. Chaser. You may be saying, that's not Chaser, that's Smoker. Well, dummy, why would they call him Smoker if he's not smoking? In the Japanese version, he's got not one, but two stogies in his mouth at all time, while in America, the poor guy's just got lockjaw.
I smoke my stogie anywhere I want. I don't have to find a hideout place like you.
I sent Zoro out to fight him because when I was younger, I thought Chaser was his dad. I mean, they got the same hair. And their hair is similar. Chaser's a lot more of a defensive tank than the other fighters, which means that you're gonna have a hard time beating him before the time limit elapses. Luckily, it's a massive misconception that you actually have to beat your opponent to claim you won. To get away from the big bad smoke man, we go to Drum Island, which is covered in ice and snow. I packed my warmest sandals, we'll be fine. Our first stop is to fight the king of the island, Wapol. His massive health bar may be intimidating, but you quickly find out that health is all he's spec'd into. He doesn't have the defenses to back it up, so he's barely an issue. To the depths with you, Tin Chin! It's also on this island we learn about Baroque works, a massive pirate military looking to take over the country of Alabasta. We find that out not just from mowing through a few dozen pirates, but also from the princess of Alabasta, Vivi. Turns out she's not much of a fighter, which I found after beating the tar out of her, so we decide to bring her home to Alabasta so she doesn't get killed. The most important thing we learned, though, is that a guy named Crocodile is leading Baroque works, and he's one of the warlords of the sea, the 7 strongest pirates in the world. Since we know about his identity, he sends one of his grunts, Nico Robin, to take care of us. Don't get used to her looking like this, she gets whiter every time you see her. She may be the worst character in the game to fight, since she's a grappler, but having to be near somebody to grab them has always been a problem with them for me. Robin fixes that by being able to grab you from any distance. She also starts all of her fights with a bunch of hands with guns to fire at you so you're not safe from any distance. You're a disgrace to the funny little cowboy hat. Now, we could just leave because we have the compass, but you only get to see a talking reindeer maybe once, so might as well take the chance. This is Tony Chopper, and he ate the devil fruit that turns you into a human. Chopper isn't much of a fighter, but the challenge for this fight is to win with Sanji, so it's a great time to figure out what Sanji can do. Mostly kick. Turns out it doesn't matter because I can kick all I want, it's not gonna do much if Chopper's being a little rat fink. He has a move that instantly poisons you, which he uses all the time, so you're gonna be constantly losing health. He spends the entire fight poisoning you and then running away so you can't hit him. We throw him in a ditch before going to finish off Wapol, who has taken over Drum Island Castle. If you thought the first fight with him was too easy, he really takes it down a notch this time around. You are not going to lose to Wapple. We try to get Chopper to join our crew, but he says nobody can love him because he's a freak and he's short and he's got a blue nose. Hey, cheer up, buddy. I hate you for totally different reasons. After Zoro has another weird battle with himself, we're all set to go to Alabasta to stop Crocodile. No, not before trying to clean up snow for 15 minutes. This is the only time they use this minigame, and we're all better off for it. You have to try to get all the snow off of this roof, which doesn't sound bad, but the best way to do it is run through the snow, pick it up to make snowballs, and try to throw it away. Except if you don't throw it directly off the edge, it's just gonna sit there and make even more snow. This big rabbit creature comes by to vomit up even more snow. This small patch of snow counts as being on the roof. Oh, and by the way, the bill passed. Snowmen now count as snow. We get to the last stop before Alabasta and have to deal with more Baroque work goons. Next up is Bon Clay, and okay, this random schmuck ends up being one of the best characters in the entire show. While looking like this, they lay down their life for Luffy and his crew whenever they can. One of the most tragic and heartfelt moments in the entire series comes from a feller who never stops looking like this. Oh, in the game, I hate him. Dive kick spamming son of a gun. Once you're done with that, we have a few different routes we can go on, but I decide to deal with Chaser first. Beat him using only Nami, not the challenge you think it is. Suck on this one, you stogie chomping stooge! Oh god, he sucked it! I can't quite beat him yet, but I survived long enough for the game to call me the winner, so I'm not complaining. Ugh, some men would rather fight a dark inner reflection of the self than just go to therapy. Now that I have more access to super attacks, can I just say that no game has ever made a special move feel less special? Since super attacks are tied to a separate stat, you need to pump that stat and that stat alone. That means that characters with high attack stats can still have pitiful damage when it comes to their biggest attacks. And there's no armor when you throw out a super. The simplest attack will knock you out. Alright, you big lug, get ready for some— Ah, that was my nose! You know the old expression, if a fighting game doesn't have a racing portion in it, fuck it. One of the mini games is to ride these spot build ducks, where you just gotta get to the end while avoiding items from the other players. I made Chopper race because I thought it would be funny to see him get hurt. The following is the worst time I've ever spent with a duck, and will be played unedited. Well, we certainly wouldn't have been able to get any further if we didn't know that Chopper could beat Zoro in a duck race. Later on, we're face to face with the leader of Baroque Works, Crocodile. Well, the only thing I've seen of Crocodile is this one picture, so I can assume he's a jam-up guy. Now that he's here, I'd like to take a moment to talk about the voice acting. Now, talking about the 4Kids cast usually ends with a knife being pulled, but I think there's some really good stuff here. Jason Griffith does a great Usopp. Veronica Taylor is a really good Robin, Lisa Ortiz as Chopper, David Willis as Buggy. They're all great in the roles they're cast in. That doesn't mean there aren't a couple stinkers. Erica Schroeder as Luffy never sounded quite right. Andrew Paul is doing something as Mihawk, and scientists will be dissecting what David Moo was going for with Sanji for years to come. There are two characters, though, that I think outshine any other voice the characters have ever had. Mark D. Raison as Zoro is a 10 out of 10. Perfect casting. He sounds effortlessly cool, and when he needs to, he can also sound hilarious. You know this clip? Luffy! That's Mark, and he's phenomenal as Zoro. Heck, he's phenomenal in everything he's in.
You have no endurance. You anger too easily. And you're always menstruating. Stop it!
The other standout is J. David Brimmer as Crocodile. In the Funimation version, he's voiced by John Swayze, and the voice just never clicked for me. His vocal range is a little high for me, but J. David Brimmer brings this deep, charismatic edge to his voice that really sells Crocodile as a villain that people want to follow.
Tell me what I took. Their money? Their pride? Peace of mind? Their lives? Their reign? I've taken everything. What is it you want back, Straw Hat?
Guys, the doctor said that if I don't talk about voice acting once a week, my liver might shut down. As for the fight with Crocodile, it's another one where you just need to run out the clock since he has massive attacks that deal loads of damage. Once we get away, it's time to make our final stop in Alabasta to take Crocodile down once and for all. However, it's gonna take a lot of work, since not only is Baroque Works here, but so is the Navy. The first battle is a rumble battle, which I normally try to skip over because their volume is only matched by their boredom, but it's got the Kung Fu Dugongs, and I thought you'd appreciate seeing them. I slaughtered them all! Before we go to fight a deadly pirate armada, though, I really want to do some spring cleaning. Nami, break more boxes. Alright, back to the fighting, and it's a rematch with Bon Clay, with the condition that we have to beat him with a support character. Bon Clay is a really tough character to fight, since they have a lot of invincible attacks that also move them around. This Looney Tunes back and forth should illustrate that. The next fight is against Robin, with a special condition to beat her using Chopper. I give it my best shot, but combine Chopper being terrible with Robin's command grabs that work from any angle, and you start to wonder if the prize is really worth it. We put Zoro in a reindeer costume, do you think the game will notice? Just a few more fights before we get to Crocodile, including a battle where we finally beat Chaser, a run-in with Luffy's brother Ace, who isn't even important right now, don't worry about it, and Tashigi. You all remembered Tashigi was here, right? We make our way to Crocodile for the final battle, and yeah, of course Zoro's gonna handle it. Crocodile is 10 levels higher than Luffy. It'd be a bloodbath. For this fight, special attacks do extra damage, which I made sure to buff before getting here, so the first round goes by smoothly. The second round, though, is even tougher, as now your main goal is to take down Crocodile with a secret attack. They're your super cinematic ultimate attacks you're supposed to use to finish off a fight. And they kinda suck. Not the cinematics, those are all fun, but the way you get to them is frustrating. You have to play rock, paper, scissors, where beating the opponent powers up your move, drawing with them weakens you, and losing means the attack fizzles. Having the final attack of your super climactic battle come down to rock, paper, scissors is starting to give me flashbacks. But what's worse is that you see that fire around your icon? Well, the cinematic attack itself only does a bit of damage. Those fireballs at the end are where the real damage comes from. It makes every attack feel a little weak. Like, that's just the opening act. Here's the real spectacle. Doesn't matter though, as we cut Crocodile down and save Alabasta. We did it! We beat 1/5 of the game. That's right, Luffy's adventure mode was only one of 5 different campaigns, and the best part, that was easy mode. The next 3 campaigns, Buggy, Crocodile, and Chaser, are medium, hard, and insanely hard respectively. This game's main selling feature that made it any different from the last game was the adventure mode, and they made sure you got your money's worth by stuffing it fit to burst with content. You think you got through what was the whole of the story mode? Nope, 4 more campaigns pop up in its place. Buggy's campaign starts out a lot like Luffy's, with him being your only crew member and you having to build your crew up, except instead of the usual Straw Hat pirates, you gather up the villains from across the East Blue. It starts off small but quickly balloons, including Arlong, Kuro, and Walpole. Fans of Don Krieg will enjoy this mode. That's me, by the way. I'm the Don Krieg fan. Just one of the many similarities between me and the author of My Hero Academia. Immediately, this makes things a lot different from the last campaign, since there's no carryover. You've got the opportunity to try out a bunch of different characters. Now, I mainly stuck with Buggy since he was my highest leveled character, but that's just because he could handle whatever I threw at him. Another difference is a neat little detail, that being that the ship in the overworld is actually Buggy's ship. The game's graphics are actually really charming all around. Even though One Piece is a very lanky series, seeing the characters in these more compact designs has a lot of appeal. The overworlds themselves recreate areas from the show faithfully, the stages have tons of cute background details like the bounties in the arena stage. It makes the game just as much fun to play as it is to look at. After breaking his crewmates out of prison, Buggy's on the run from the Marines, including a few run-ins with Chaser and Tashigi. While trying to find and kill Luffy, we accidentally do the right thing by fighting off Baroque Works and Bon Clay. You see pretty quickly that on higher difficulties, characters like Bon Clay and Robin are nightmares to fight against, but are nowhere near as bad as the situation I just got myself in. Now my 2 choices are to fight level 15 Mihawk and level 15 Shanks. The Mihawk fight is what I went for first, and it's just a survival battle, so you could run away from him and his crazy strong attacks, but I don't want my crewmates thinking I'm a dork. While Mihawk deals a lot of damage, he also takes a lot too, so you're able to fight back unlike you were before. I actually get close to winning, but with less than a second to go, I grasp defeat from the jaws of victory and mess up everything. No one could do it better. I'm determined to beat Mihawk, so I throw Buggy at him a few more times to try to get it done, which does have the benefit of leveling up Buggy, but it's a shame that you get less and less experience every time you redo a fight. Finally, I take down one of the 7 warlords of the sea, and I get the reward of Django. Kuro's friend. Once you escape Mihawk, you run into Ace again, who is still not important and challenges you to Battle Bowl. Here you gotta take this fully sentient adult man and try to throw him into your opponent's hoops to score points. It's a fun little diversion, which even has anti-little brother technology built into it by making it so you can't just run into the basket to get a point. We totally smoke Ace at that basketball game, and it's only after he's gone that we realize it might have been a good idea to recruit him. We could chase after him, but first we have to square off with red-haired Shanks. He's the guy responsible for Buggy becoming virtually invincible, and he's gotta pay for it. I know I said Robin was the most annoying to fight, but that was just on her own. Shanks is an even bigger pain. His attacks themselves are whatever. It's the fact that he fights you with his 3 assist characters all at once. He has Yasop to cover long range, Beckman for short range, and Lucky Roo. Lucky Kangaroo! Who'd have thought the strongest weapon in the world would be a fat man sitting on you? Look how much damage he does! Having to fight 4-on-1 makes fighting Shanks a pain, and anytime he shows up is the worst part of any campaign. Luckily for this campaign, we're able to recruit him and have him on our side. I don't particularly care for how he plays, but at least I won't have to fight him again. We make our way to Syrup Village, where Luffy might be, and have to get through Chaser and Tashigi before handling them. I might be sick of fighting them, but at least I get to do it several more times before we're done. While Luffy's nowhere to be found, Ace is the next best thing, and we try to get him to join our crew. I ride ducks fast, live with me! Shoot, that was a sure thing. Well, we can't find Straw Hat, better beat up some kids to raise morale. I just feel like it's been too long since Usopp feared for his life, let's fix that. Well, this was a total waste of a trip, all we did was beat up a few kids and win a race. I can do that whenever I want. We make it to Drum Kingdom, where our run-ins with Baroque works have made us an enemy of the organization. They over-prepare a bit by sending every soldier they have to fight me. And the worst part of the game starts here. This one Rumble battle is hellish, as I wasn't kidding, you fight every single assist character Crocodile has, including Daz Bones, Babe, Lasso, Mariana, Zala, Drawfee. Does this sound like a lot? Because trust me, there's even more! While you're fighting all of them, you're still dealing with the nameless grunts that never stop spawning, including the stupid gun pirates. Worst of all is that you're on a 60-second countdown, so you can't even take your time. You gotta rush in and get killed so the timer doesn't kill you first. It took me over an hour to finally win this, and your reward? What do you get for winning? Another Baroque Works Rumble fight right afterwards. Another 20-minute fight follows, but it's all worth it because we finally get our hands on Straw Hat. We finally get to kill him, and if anybody's gonna kill Luffy, well, there are worse choices. He slips away like the rat he is and puts us in the direct firing line of Crocodile. He's got 2 assistants like Shanks did, but these 2 are much easier to handle. Once they're gone, I'm able to make up for mediocre damage output by throwing Crocodile overboard over and over, since stats don't discriminate against drowning. We make it to Alabasta and we're welcomed by another Rumble battle! They use these way too many times in Buggy's campaign, and if I'm being honest, I'm totally sick of them. After getting stuck on another Rumble battle immediately after tons of annoying grunts with guns, I call it quits. Looks like Buggy's getting captured by the Navy, which isn't because I got frustrated and lazy, it's for lore accuracy. Crocodile's campaign is probably my favorite, since he's my favorite to play as. Sure, he may be slow as a stone, but he more than makes up for it by hitting like a freight train. Not just that, but you also get the most annoying characters in the game as crewmates from the get-go. Your first fight is against Robin, where you figure out that the ultimate weapon Pluton is an Alabasta. If we get that, we'll be unstoppable. With Robin aboard my crew, I want to see what it feels like to be a slime ball, but the first chance I get to use her, I figure out you can't grapple assist characters, and she's totally useless in Rumble battles. Oh, so is this that karma thing I keep hearing about? Bon Clay is the next crewmate, and while they're a pain to fight, it's the only time I gotta do it! Oh, Robin, what's your special attack? Oh yeah, I break their back, and they die. This does have its own sort of problem, though. These are all the Baroque Works characters in the game, and we still have 5 more slots to fill. Do you think Don Krieg's gonna accept my Valentine's Day card? With a full crew of like 3 people and a dog, we head off for Drum Island to find Princess Vivi before she can tell the world our plan. I'll give this mode credit for giving all 3 of the starting characters the same level, so you can pick who you want to focus on and not be at a big disadvantage. The next fight's a rumble fight, but at least they have the decency to not time this one, which makes it much less of a headache. Still, I thought playing the Crocodile route would mean that I wouldn't have to fight Crocodile's henchmen. We catch up to Vivi, where I make a funny discovery about Crocodile. I was role-playing as a cocky prick by taunting when I realized that taunting actually swaps out Crocodile's hook hand for a poisoned one, which means that any attack using the hook poisons the enemy. Now this took Crocodile from being a pretty strong character to the best one, since you constantly keep up the poison and sap your enemy's health even quicker. Now if he was a reindeer while doing this, I'd be f***ing pissed. While we're on our way out of Drum Island though, we run into Ace again, doing nothing as he's wont to do. I don't know if it's an effect of raising the difficulty or because last time I fought him we were playing basketball, but he has a nasty habit of lighting you on fire and sapping your health. What the hell? That's not fair! Luckily, he succumbs to the same weakness that most things do, in that falling off of high platforms hurts. On our way out, we run into Chopper, and put this one on the wiki. According to One Piece Grand Adventure, Chopper is the most willing to betray the Straw Hats. Work with me, Chopper, and we'll make sure Heavy Point never looks like this. And when in Drum, it's nice to take some time to kick Wapple around. It's the national sport. Moving on to Logetown, and we start to see the Navy interfere with our business. As a warlord of the sea, we can work however we want, but I guess they draw the line at having one of the world's most wanted criminals as a crewmate and closest confidant. While trying to play off the fact that I beat the piss out of a Marine, we run into some freak with a straw hat. Weird. Hope he dies. Anyway, throwing a Marine off the top of the Hell in a Cell is suddenly a crime, and Chaser comes to have a word with us, and that word is die. He's actually a really tough fight since he comes in with some Navy goons to back him up, and his attacks can hit hard from a distance. Arlong also lives here, and I have been trying all day to think of a reason to not beat him up, but I can't think of one. Good thing I do too, because I managed to get Nami to join the team. Okay, that defection I actually saw coming. Oh yeah, I killed Arlong too. Big whoop. On to Syrup Village! I regret coming to Syrup Village. This is the first time I've had a character who can fight Mihawk on equal footing, and here's hoping it makes no difference. This guy's still really strong no matter what. A few tries later and I get it, and even get the extra bonus. A guy who works for me now works for me. I've just been paying him to be my friend for the past couple days. Not much happens in Syrup Village until we go to fight Don Krieg. For this fight, Don has the shield power up at all times, meaning he's got super armor and therefore can't be launched by my attacks. Would you believe me if I told you he joined my crew after this? After that is a battle with Usopp, where he takes off the kitty gloves and brings the kids to fight alongside him. It doesn't help. Well, this was a complete waste of a stop. Here's hoping something more interesting happens on the next island. This is far too interesting. Shanks is back, which means that you're getting bum-rushed, but he's feeling merciful this time and only brings one named Guy and makes up for it with 3 random mooks. Don't think that makes it any easier, since he's still really hard to hit when you're getting knocked around by anybody who takes a swing. It takes way too many tries to finish him off, but when you do, you get the compass early, which means you can leave this godforsaken rock. Our next stop is to the floating island of Skypiea, which 4 kids never got to in the anime, so this might as well be game exclusive. Before you get to the god of Skypiea though, you gotta fight through his priests, Gidatsu, Shura, and Satori. I fucking hate all of them. They do arbitrary amounts of damage each time they hit you. It could be a slap on the wrist, or it could be a fat man sitting on you. The last of the priests is Ohm, who is a guy in a shirt and some pants, which doesn't sound weird, but after the last 3 freak shows I fought, it's nice. I really like his transforming sword. Shame he dies so quickly, otherwise we could have seen more of it. The final battle in Skypiea is with the sky god Eneru. Yes, you do recognize him. He's the invincible ruler of Skypiea, able to call forth lightning to kill anybody from any range. Unless you know electricity doesn't hurt you. You gotta be fucking kidding me, there's 2 of them? Even with that advantage, Eneru is still a tough fight, especially if you go for the bonus condition of staying above a certain health. Realizing it might be worthwhile to travel with a guy who can so soundly kick him in the pants, Eneru joins us, and we have our full crew, where Don Krieg just looks so in place. Warlord of the sea, god of lightning, guy with gun. Turns out not just the Navy is crawling all over Alabasta after figuring out our plans, but, Luffy? That was the cat guy, right? Oh, right, Stretchy wears a hat. Could've sworn I killed him. Oh, let's fix that. Alright, back to the real work. To get to the center of Alabasta, we gotta blow past a few more roadblocks, like Vivi, Tashigi, Ace, but it's all worth it when we finally get to the castle, and go away! Alright, we trapped him in a combination sandstorm earthquake that should hopefully keep him busy for a while. Taking over a sovereign nation, though, seems to be the final straw, since the Navy's coming after us full force. Oh, Tashigi's here! Anyway. Oh, wait, I'm strong too! Doesn't really matter how strong you get, though. Mihawk's always going to be a tough fight. But for the first time, it doesn't feel impossible. Still not done, though, since the last fight is against Chaser. Imagine the 20 or so times we fought Chaser already. Okay, now imagine me winning. We did it, boys! We conquered the world and got 100% on our report cards. Hey, did you know I might be Luffy's mom? Finally is Chaser's campaign, and unlike the last two, which appropriately level you for the difficulty ahead, Chaser has the second lowest starting level out of all the captains with only 5. But you also get Tashigi as a playable character, so let's just add up their levels. I'm level 3. This mode lives up to the insanely hard tag. There's no more gimme fights. I mean, Tashigi's on our side. But even fights against basic characters like Buggy or Arlong are gonna take a lot more effort to take out. Chaser isn't a bad character by any measure, but anybody's gonna be a come down from Crocodile. He's got amazing anti-air tools, he's got some long-range attacks after a few level ups, but you're still gonna struggle for a long time. I have to retry the Arlong fight a few times since he's able to spam his aerial attacks so much, but don't worry, I still haven't lost to Don Krieg. I trust you all enough to tell you something so personal. There's a prison break on the Marine Island, which means we gotta beat all the prisoners back into their cells. Arlong, Kuro, Don Krieg, Buggy, and Wapple all go down, but in the commotion, Luffy just shows up trying to smuggle prisoners out of the prison. While we try and stop him, it gives the other prisoners enough time to make it out. Now we gotta travel the globe to find all those prisoners and put them back. You're talking to the #1 crime hater right here. You could call me hate crime for how much I don't like him. There's not much left to talk about since we're on our 4th playthrough, but I'll go over the highlights. After a gauntlet of all 3 Baroque Works pirates, we get Crocodile back on the team. And not just any Crocodile, but the Crocodile that I leveled up. So while everybody else is at most level 9, Crocodile is level 30. I knew it was a trap though. He's gonna leave the party soon, so I had to avoid using him as much as I could. Soon we find Kuina, Zoro's dead childhood friend who looks like Tashigi. Unfortunately, she doesn't hit like Tashigi because she's actually really strong. The challenge as well is to beat her using Tashigi, so I have to at least try. I will throw this little girl into the ocean as many times as I have to win. After making like a staircase and killing Kuina, she joins our crew and has already supplanted Tashigi as my second in command. After that is a battle with Shanks, and that mercy from before where he only fought you with one of his assists has been rescinded, and now we're back to all 3. I'm honestly thankful for Yasop. He just stands in the background being as unhelpful as possible. Why, he's so distant you'd think I was Usopp or something. After leaving the ship graveyard and moving on to Syrup Village, we take on the head chef of Sanji's restaurant, Zeph, and it turns out he has beef with Luffy and joins my crew. For those keeping track of my crew, it's now Chaser, Deadweight, the evilest fucking man in the entire world, a dead child, and a chef. After that is a little time spent rounding up the escaped pirates. Guys, I have something to confess. Hey everybody, comment below with what I did to deserve this! I take back what I said, it's actually a great idea to use Crocodile. We beat him so badly that Mihawk even agrees to come along for the rest of the journey! Alright, it turns out he loses a little something when he can't spam his moves infinitely and has 2 of his assists up at the start of the fight for the entire fight. Weird. We've hunted down the Straw Hats and Baroque Work pirates to Alabasta, and it's up to us to take them down one by one if we want to stop all the fighting. When we get to Zoro, I attempt to beat him psychologically by using his dead childhood friend to beat him, only for him to beat me physically by hitting me repeatedly until I stopped moving. Yeah, change of plan. It's time to take down Crocodile once and for all, and thank goodness he dropped 14 levels since last time we saw him. The fight with Crocodile is stupid hard. His attack and defense stats are incredibly high, and he never runs out of Super Bar, which means that he can throw out super attacks over and over and over, while you only get 3 at a time. Even if it takes a couple tries, we still get it done, and Crocodile gets tossed in the slammer. Now all that's left is bagging Straw Hat. Wow, that was easy! You know what? I'm feeling big. Let's go arrest Ace and Shanks. Ace isn't much of a challenge. Shanks. I spent an hour on this fight. There's nothing different about it from any other Shanks fight, they just do so much damage. No tactic works well against him, you can just barely take out the assists, then there's the matter of actually fighting Shanks, who's no slouch in his own right. The first 20 or so seconds is just spent killing Beckman and Rue, then running to the other side of the ship where Yasopp can't hit you, and then finally trying to fight Shanks. If you have to spam aerials, super attacks, secret attacks, doesn't matter, job gets done. We don't end up actually catching anybody, so the past hour and a half was for nothing. There's a 5th campaign. Luckily that one's for Usopp, and I will not be helping Usopp. The gimmick is that you get to use every character in the game to custom build your own crew however you want to, but that crew has to have Usopp on it. So that's Grand Adventure! When I started playing this, I was sure that a little part of me was going to die when I found out that a game I loved when I was younger was actually terrible, like seeing your favorite baseball player passed out drunk in his car, but honestly, this game blew my expectations away. I expected a generic anime arena fighter and got a fun Power Stone game with a really robust story mode and tons of replayability. You can try out different crewmates, go for all the achievements, collect everything the game has, try to stomach playing as Chopper for more than 2 minutes, and the best part is, the game kind of works independent of being a One Piece game. If this game was called Boat Brawlers or Pirate Puncher, it would work just as well. It covers such a small, succinct portion of the story from so early on that it feels less like a game you need to be a One Piece fan to enjoy, and more so just like another quirky early 2000s fighting game that expects you to go along with its insane universe, like Star Gladiators or the Rumblefish. If you can, I highly recommend this game, which you can pick up for a cool... Whoa, look over the side of the ship! A pod of dolphins! I sure do love dolphins! I think everybody should get a load of these dolphins. Google download dolphins to learn more, cause I'm down to get a load of these dolphins! So, anybody else excited for the Netflix show?